the bankruptcy trustee will keep disposing of my assets over a period of time, but I will anyway not have anything to do with that, right? Now, and while I am undergoing that process of bankruptcy, I am not discharged so far. What are the limitations on what is it that I cannot do? What all things I can't do? Can I, for example, can I be an employee of a company? Can I continue to earn my salary? Yes, no?
Yes, no. Yes, you cannot contract. You cannot enter into a contract.
তাহলে দুধ কি করে কিনবো কিনা, রাশন কিনবো কিনা, খাওয়াটা খাবো, তো এটা কি কন্ট্রাক্ট নেই? আমি সকালে যখন দুধ কিনতে যাবো সেটা কন্ট্রাক্ট নেই? If I am incapable of contracting, I should not buy my milk. So this is a misnotion. I think it's a very common misnotion that while during the bankruptcy process, I cannot enter into this. Actually, misnotion. I can enter into every contract. So there's no bar on contracting. All that, if I'm buying something on credit, then I have to tell the other person that I am an undischarged. So when I go to buy my morning pouch of milk, I should tell the milk wala, বাবা আমাকে দিও না, কিন্তু আমি দিতে পারো, কিন্তু আমি আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড দিতে হবে না, আমি অন্যদের টাকা দেয়নি, তোমাকে হয়তো না দিতে পারি, আমাকে যখন দিচ্ছ ভালোভাবে ভেবে দেবে, ঠিক আছে? I just have to put a caution that be careful because I am an understand. There is no bar on contracting at all. See, if there was a bar on contracting, how would I come out? Since I have to continue to live, I have to continue to earn. So the law cannot make me, kind of completely incapacitated of doing anything. In fact, the whole idea is that I should come out of the process. Sooner the better. So the more I earn, the better, na? जो बेसी income करो, that money will go. So now the question is, where will the money go? Supposing during the process of bankruptcy resolution, I am earning money. Where will the money go? Is it my money or is it the creditor's money? So once again, very, very important principles. Whatever were my assets on the date on which I was adjudicated as bankrupt, all the assets vest in the bankruptcy trustee. So on the date of adjudication, all assets, when I say all assets, there is an exception, I'll just come to that. All assets vest in the bankruptcy trustee. All assets মানে কি? আমার কাপড় কি হবে? চলে যাবে? আমার বাড়ির বাসন কি হবে? সেটাও চলে যাবে? So then there are something called exempted assets. Exempted assets don't vest. For example, exempted assets will, for example, include my wearing apparel. Of course, I can't be allowed to keep a costly suit. Mine is not, but well, normally. And of course, my utensils will stay. My domestic furniture will stay. Jewelry. In case of ladies, they have an advantage of keeping the so-called stridhan, something which is indicative of a married woman that will stay. Rest of the jewelry will go. What about my house? Will it stay or will it go? Once again, same question. বাড়ি যে চলে যাবে থাকবো কোথায়? আমি তো জেলে যেতে পারবো না. It's not a. So once again, please understand, insolvency is not a crime. We are running in a system where people take insolvency to be a crime. First thing they do is to put me in jail if I have defaulted. I don't know what do they get, but people put a defaulter in jail. What do they get by putting him? I don't know how is the creditors' interest at all helped. But anyway, that's a part of the system. So a house of such value as may be notified by the government. I can't stay in Kingfisher House, for example. Right? So মানে ও তো আলিশান বাড়ি চলবে না, কিন্তু house of such value as the government may notify that may be allowed to be retained by the bankrupt. So these are called exempted assets. They will not be passed on to trustee. Rest all my assets will go to trustee. As on that day, all my assets vest in the trustee. Now what about after acquired property? After acquired money ki holo, whatever assets I am earning after the date of adjudication, I am still earning money. So though the liquidator has the option to ask for me to surrender a part of my after acquired property also. So what's the principle basically is that, for example, I am earning 1 lakh per month. Liquidator can say that he does not need so much for his survival. 30,000 is enough for him. Less 70,000 should go to benefit of creditors. Liquidator will have to make a case in NCLT that I have the option. Liquidator has the option to ask for the bankrupt to surrender a part of his after acquired property as well. That's the second stage. Now third stage.
It's a judgment?
Judgment is on the part of the adjudicating body. So in this case, the DRT. Yes, of course, this question, that's why it's called adjudicating body. So that judgment has to be exercised by the DRT. Third issue is, after my discharge happened after 12 months, then I earn a property, I earn assets, I earn property. What happens to that? Do the creditors have any claim on that?
No.
Absolutely not. So in the past there have been many cases. Soon after his discharge he gets a major gift or major devolution happen on him. So that asset cannot be claimed by creditors. So once discharged, the person is permanently out of the bankruptcy process. You might probably also be asking, can I go bankrupt again? I get a discharge and I start living a lavish life again. Can I again go into bankruptcy? Yes, no.
Yes.
There is that. Huh?
5 years.
Yes.
After 5 years.
So in UK law the limit is 3 years.
3 years.
In India the limit is 12 months. That is 12 months later he gets a discharge, and the issue is, are the lenders, can the, I'm sure you would have heard this, CIBIL, heard the credit bureaus, CIBIL or Fairfax or any of these credit scoring entities, can they continue to maintain a history of my former default and say I am a former bankrupt? Can they continue to maintain that I am a former bankrupt, though discharged, but I am a former bankrupt, so let the lender be cautioned against lending to me. So the issue here is also that maximum for a tenure of 5 years. For a maximum tenure of 5 years, my credit history may retain a history of my former default. After 5 years, I get a complete washout. Even the CIBIL cannot contain a data that I am a former banker, which means nothing stops me from starting living a lavish life again and therefore getting into bankruptcy once again. In fact, in US and all, it's fairly common for people to get into bankruptcy and then come out of it and then start being lavish once again and getting into bankruptcy again. So second or third time bankruptcy is possible.
They plan for it.
Bankruptcy procedure, can a PMLA case like Prevention of Money Laundering Act, can a law like that be applicable on an individual? It is under the bankruptcy process.
So I think an interesting question will be, what exactly is PMLA? Money laundering, money key. Money laundering, sometimes we say lots of CAs are transforming black money into white. Is that money laundering?
Yes.
PMLA मध्ये उठा money laundering नहीं है. So PMLA is, I think, misunderstood. In fact, as I was mentioning the DTPA meeting a couple of days back, I was asked, what is money laundering law? PMLA has got nothing to do with that money laundering. Black to white, that's not money laundering. PMLA is different. PMLA talks about proceeds of crime. There are stated laws there, which is terrorism, secessionism, illegal trades like narcotics and all. So there are
Actually, PML is meant for the source of fund, where from the fund has generated, and end user of the fund.
but not like black money, white money kind of source. PMLA, not even will. There's a schedule of laws. So otherwise, every tax evasion is a case of willful default.
Hey,
So-
but this case was left on Vijay Mallya also. He is not a drug trafficker, he is not a terrorist funder, but this case was left on him also.
I am not sure whether a PMLA case has been launched. I am not sure.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Only last week or this week, beginning, a PMLA case was
So-
left on him.
PMLA is basically because it's gone. It's fled the country. It's probably might be PMLA because it's so international terrorism is covered.
He is not a terrorist.
Fair. So there is a schedule of laws which is listed in the PMLA law. Only breach of those laws are covered by PMLA. PMLA has got nothing to do with Income Tax Act. Offences and Income Tax Act don't come under PMLA. So that's nothing.
Out of this country,
Even if it's out of the country,
it is not PMLA.
it's not covered by PMLA at all. So PMLA has got a very narrow schedule: Narcotics Act, Drugs Act, terrorism, and those kinds of secessionism. For example, inciting people of the country to, let's say, wage a rebellion against the country. Separatism, Arunachal Pradesh, for example, somebody is, let's say, inciting violence in Arunachal. Those kinds of activities are covered, not tax evasion. It's got nothing to do with tax evasion. So, can a undischarged insolvent be engaged in PMLA? Yes, he can be engaged in any crime.
So
What
action
stop?
will lie under that act.
So PMLA is basically dealing with crime. If somebody does a crime, is there a bar on criminal proceedings? Answer is straight no. Nothing stops if there's a crime, like the moratoriums I talked about, in the meantime somebody does a crime, does it stop a court from prosecuting? Oh, absolutely not. Criminal proceedings are never state. Civil proceedings are state, not criminal proceedings. So any crime that a person does, he is always, liable to be prosecuted for a crime.
Sir, in case of non-corporate, there is a case for suspicious transactions to be of 1 year back to be investigated. Like if I know that I am going to be I am going to declare myself as a bankrupt, so before that I transfer few of my properties to my relatives so that after 12 months when I get discharged I can take it back.
The same thing I talked about earlier. When in case of corporate bankruptcy, also talked about 4 transactions.
Yes.
Undue
In
preferences,
this case,
same. In fact, little larger here. So that's what we call vulnerable transactions. Transactions which are vulnerable, which can be attacked by the liquidator. Remember I mentioned 4 things, that's undue preferences, undervalued transactions, fraudulent transfers, and extortionate credit transactions. All of these 4 are applicable here as well. That is, during the past 12 months, any undue preference. The period becomes 24 months in case of transactions with related parties. So if I transferred my house to a related party, to an uncle, so that I can avoid it from falling in the hands of the liquidator will examine the transaction and will say the uncle kachte ke asset abar nahi aasbe, firat nahi aasbe. So the assets will be brought back to the bankrupt from the uncle.
So suppose there is I entered into a partnership with another person, like A enters into a partnership with B, and after some time they decided to we decided to leave that partnership firm.
Right.
And the capital of the current account, the A doesn't pay B that after he left, he's supposed to pay the capital account balance and A doesn't pay B that balance. So in that case, can it come under this?
So what you're saying is that the person has a claim against the partnership firm. He exited the firm, his capital was to be repaid. The capital has not been repaid.
Yes.
I think yes, it should come under this law. It should. Prima facie it seems to me that it should come under this law, because it is an obligation of the remaining partner to repay the capital account which has not been satisfied. That's a claim, and any claim can come under this law. Any kind of a claim. So to my mind, yes, it will come. So here again, sorry?
This 5-year period will commence from the adjudication order itself or after?
5 year for keeping the track of the defaults, former defaults, that after date of discharge. After discharge. 5 years after discharge. That would mean maximum discharge during past 5 years. Record of that can be kept. Beyond that, the rating agencies, the credit bureaus can't keep a record of more than 5 years old defaults.
Yeah, however, debts can be brought under the purview of this bankruptcy court.
So unless it's time barred,
Even 3 years.
I think it's important to understand the limitation principle. I gave a loan in year 2005.
Right.
Is it time barred now?
If there is no communication or confirmation within the period.
So question is, if the loan is getting acknowledged year by year, every year the loan is acknowledged, every year the limitation gets refreshed. The loan is shown in the balance sheet, there is no question of limitation. Limitation is when the borrower did not acknowledge and the lender did not pursue. So both of them kept, lying completely oblivious. That's when, so idea of limitation law is that those who prefer to sleep on their rights and not take any action, they cannot later on wake up at some point of time and take the judiciary into action. So latitude, the principle is latitude basically. Those who show latitude, latches in enforcing their claims, they can't later on wake up and enforce their claims. I'm sensing that the patience might be running out now. So then I'll just make it fast now and try to complete it soon. The institute's watch is surely not correct because it's showing 8:6:12 right now. So that's obviously not correct on this computer watch, but anyway, I'll try winding up soon. So as you mentioned, so the individual gets a discharge after 12 months. In the meantime, the trustee may continue to dispose of the assets. And here there are, once again, there are moratorium periods here as well. There is a resolution phase during which moratorium is applicable on everybody. SARFAESI action also gets stayed. During resolution phase, a creditor cannot take SARFAESI action. During liquidation phase, a creditor may, at his choice, if he decides to enforce security interest, he may take SARFAESI action, or he may want to relinquish security interest and join the liquidation proceedings. Distribution of assets takes place, finally there is a discharge of the individual. So I think this is, let me just quickly straight talk about the role that chartered accountants might have to play, and the organizational setup, so the way the institutional framework works. There are two types of bodies under the law. One is the insolvency profession. So insolvency profession will be regulated by IBPI, Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India. Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India registers two types of entities. One is called Insolvency Professional Agencies. Second is called Information Utilities, IUs. Information utility will be somebody like CIBIL, which is basically maintaining credit history. So that's we are not concerned with that. Let's look to IPAs, Insolvency Professional Agencies. Insolvency Professional Agencies will include professional bodies, let's say ICAI, ICSI, ICMI, whose members will be entitled to become insolvency practitioners. That's called IPs, and the body is called IPA. So IBPI is the apex body which regulates insolvency profession in the country. I mentioned IBPI is already constituted, already working. Other part is adjudication part. That is who takes cases under insolvency code. So I said two types of bodies, NCLT and DRT. NCLT has an appellate body called NCLAT. DRT has an appellate body called DRAT. From NCLAT, the matter straight goes to Supreme Court. Likewise, from DRAT, the matter straight goes to Supreme Court. So chartered accountants can handle cases up to NCLT, NCLAT. Likewise, DRT, DRAT. Now, what about a guarantor? Let's say Kingfisher has defaulted. Mr. Mallya is the guarantor. So for Kingfisher, we'll file a case before NCLT. Are we therefore saying that for Vijay Mallya, we'll file the case before DRT? That actually will be a problem because you cannot pursue two separate claims against the company and the company's guarantor in two different forums. So this law says that if a person is a guarantor for an obligation of a company, the case against the guarantor also can be taken before NCLT. So NCLT will be the forum for both the company as well as a guarantor for the company. Not to kind of hold you anymore, so if you have any questions, please feel free.
The debtor has taken a CC loan from the bank by depositing the invoice certificate and alternate securities that are maintained. So he is unable to pay the CC loan to the bank. What is the position of the bank?
So the bank has the deposits. What else the bank has?
And the alternate security grants and we can also give.
So the easiest thing for the bank is to take SARFAESI action. A bank, so if the bank has to choose between SARFAESI action and insolvency action, why would the bank take insolvency action? Insolvency, sir, আমার জন্য চিন্তা ভাবনা কি হচ্ছে আমি নিজের স্বার্থ দেখবো না পরমার্থ দেখবো? If I am looking at my own selfish interest, I'll take SARFAESI action because assets are sufficient. যদি collateral ভালো থাকে আমার কাছে ডিপোজিট আছে আমি ইন্স্যুরেন্স যাবো কেন? কিন্তু borrower himself may go for insolvency. While I am once I serve a 13/2 note, SARFAESI is 13/2. So once the bank serves a 13/2 notice, the borrower may be tempted to go to a DRT and say, I am insolvent, so please help me.
Then can bankers can take over the house property or
No, during resolution phase the bank cannot. So the bank and the other creditors will have to sit together to find is there a way to resolve it, or let's say the bank itself has a substantial debt, so 75% sanction is required. Let's say the claim of the bank is more than 75%, bank can say the bank can overrule that I am not interested in any resolution. আমার কোনো এতে interest নেই, therefore let it go into bankruptcy, I don't care. However, if other creditors, let's say, are more than 25%, they say no, we are not interested to let the house go, let the bank think of a restructure. Then the other creditors may force the bank to agree to a restructure. So in a way, yes, it helps the debtor also. But primarily the impact of this law will be to speed up the recovery process. Because currently it's taking long time for recoveries to happen. Correct. So I think end result will be that there will be speeding up of the entire process and there will be more of credit discipline in the country.
So can the worker injured persons or conduct insolvency?
So you can
Can workers declare the contractor persons as insolvency? Because
So-
the contractor has taken the ESI contributions and government contribution, but he does not deposit with the same. So the workers are still inferior. So what will happen in that case?
So workers may, if there is a claim against the contractor is not paying his claim, the workers may take him to insolvency. Yes, may. The workers may take him to insolvency.
Not workers. Not by the workers.
Workers may file for insolvency of the contractor. Right? I think I must thank you all for being so patient and staying back while we still. Thank you very much.
Sir, one more question.
Yeah, sure.
Sir, suppose the creditors have filed an insolvency application against the Yeto, can it be, can the borrower do something to keep a stay on that?
None. Can the borrower go to a court and get a stay? Answer is no. Courts have absolutely no jurisdiction in the entire process. Judicial intervention is completely ousted. Courts have no jurisdiction at all. No court shall impose any stay on insolvency or liquidation proceedings. These days, most of the laws come with this kind of an exclusive jurisdiction clause to say that only NCLT or DRT will entertain the case. No court will interfere at all.
So the difference between the NCLT and DRT?
NCLT will handle corporate cases. DRT will handle personal cases, non-corporate cases. Right? Thank you very much.
Question answer.
Thanks.
Any other question? Any other question from all of us? So, being the no question, excellent presentation by the learned speaker, and we love to hear, always love to hear from you, sir. So, I would request everybody present to please put your hands together for Vinodji. I would request sir, please come forward and offer a memento on behalf of all of us and EIRC to the learned speaker.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinod. बनाए थे, तो उसको और भी करके वो करना चाहे, ठीक है।